Let's get it. This is Life's Essential Ingredients with Jeff and a Mike, where we hope to inform, inspire, and transform lives, one essential ingredient at a time. Welcome to the show. Listeners, we got a great one for you today, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Life's Essential Ingredients. Still can't believe we're season 2, episode 10, rocking it with Jerry Macnamara coming from Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Don't know if he's wearing his flip-flops today or not, but I know Pasho is down in LA. I'm up north in Vacaville. Did my morning walk, was a little bit chilly, a lot of fog, and a little bit of dew. So how is things out there for you, Jerry? And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It is great. Just last week it was 80 degrees and we were out on the boat and the kids were tubing. So it's a great place to be in Florida and certainly at the beach.
He's rubbing it in already, but we got to take it. What can we do? We love California as well, and that's what makes life so great. Everybody can focus on what is truly essential for them, but we got a lot of great content, so we're going to get this show going. First off, where you can find Jerry, a couple places, jerrymacnamara.com, and I want to spell it out because Mike and I, don't take this the wrong way, Jerry, but we're hoopers, and there was a great player at Syracuse, New York, and that was Jerry with the G. That's not the one we're talking to. We're talking to the real deal, Jerry Macnamara, JerryMacnamara.com, or better yet, Proven Chaos, which is a lot easier.com, and that's the business that Jerry runs. So a little bit about Jerry. He's the founder and CEO of Proven Chaos, where business is not only the economic engine of the world, but the engine of cultural change. And I love that right there, right out of the gate. Jerry's mission is to positively impact a healthier, happier world where people live life on their terms with intention because of better business. By equipping CEOs with frameworks to lead to a support system to help businesses, they will fulfill the promise to their customers, vendors, and employees. Jerry's life goal is to have more fun than anyone else. Hence, being on the boat, rocking his flip-flops, and doing his thing out there. He accomplishes this by helping motivated people succeed, by teaching them to invest in themselves, build their skill sets, and understand their value propositions to unlock their potential to be great. Jerry's core beliefs include love is the ultimate superpower. People want to be great, they just aren't always sure the path. People who know how to do something will always have a job. The person who knows why will be their boss. Perspective is directly proportional to quality of life. Actively cultivate a wider and deeper perspective if you hope to achieve the best in life. I'm loving all these. Last one, happiness is an approach to life. Fulfillment occurs when you align actions with values and achieve success. Your life, your terms. Jerry, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the introduction. You've done some pretty good research. I don't know what else to share.
there's so much in all those. And that's what, the older I get, the more I realize simplicity is genius. And to be able to be articulate as you are with the work that you do and the life that you live just tells me that you've invested so much time in each and every one of these words, and you're able to focus on what is truly essential. And so, yeah, we could just go through, not that we're going to, but just to reread all of this and break down, okay, what does that exactly mean to you? And that would probably be like a 15-hour show. But yeah, I love doing this part of the show because I think it gives people a chance to take a step back and, yeah, I'm doing some good things, and then to use that to what we would say light the fuse to continue to take action and live life by the values that you've created. So yeah, congratulations on everything that you're doing, but we're going to get rocking because we always start with Pasho's favorite part of the show, the thought of the day. And no pressure, Jerry. And we're going to go deep on this one too, but we're 100%. We are in season 2, episode 10. And this is a really good quote. I have not used this one on this show, and it's by the great Howard Thurman, who was a civil rights leader. And here it goes. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have. And if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else pulls. Jerry, why would I pick that thought of the day for you?
Because I think at the core of what it is that I do, it's helping people live your life on your terms. I think so many times society tells us that we should do more and we should have it now. And in my opinion, those are the words of the devil. You need to get really clear about your values and your vision for the world so that you can live your life on your terms. In fact, many of the people who come to me, and some that I work with, some that I haven't worked with, I call it blowing like a leaf in the wind. Right. And they're frustrated. They're not getting what they want out of life. But the reality of it is they haven't done the work to sit down and say, here's what I actually do want out of life. And, here are my values. Here are the guardrails by which I'm going to make my decisions for my life. And so therefore, you're always going to be disillusioned unless you create that conscious intention and then align your actions to it. And so I think that's why you chose that quote. And I love it. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you for, again, helping people learn how to do that. And that's the challenge, and why we just need businesses like yours, again, provenchaos.com, and the individuals who have gone through their struggles to figure out what is truly essential, in your life. And so I would love to just jump in of what was life like growing up for you. Just share whatever that part that you want to.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up the youngest of 4 in a nice community in New Jersey. As I was growing up, like many families today's day and age, my parents ended up getting divorced. Both of them had difficult addictions at times. And so that left some times that we were fractured as a family. And so for me, I think it's just making sure that you get back to a place of community, which is so important to me. I've said so many times that, people loved me when I couldn't love myself. And, it's one of the core vows that my wife and I took when we got married, which was there's always room for one more at the table. Because people let her into, their home and their family at different times, just like people let me into their homes and many times their floors so that I could go sleep there for a while. And so community is certainly a really important piece of things that I think about, because you don't do life alone. I think one of the things that I think about is, an essential idea is this whole notion of a self-made man is a total myth. Mm-hmm. We stand on the shoulders of giants. And if we don't have the humility and can't put our ego aside to say, everything that I've done has been through people because people believed in me and loved me and all of those things, then I think we miss a really important lesson in life. And I think you're seeing life through frosted lens. You're not seeing life clearly if you truly think you are a self-made person.
That's a whole nother episode. I love it. And I totally agree, and so many times, I don't know if Mike uses this, but I've used it in my teaching and coaching of just get out of your own way. And as soon as you realize that life is so much bigger than you, it really just opens up so many doors, takes off pressure, and allows you to see a different perspective. And to jump in, I know you said you have a family, share love, obviously, with them. From your website, you have a son and a daughter. This pandemic has been dragging on. It looks like it's going to continue to drag on. But what was the best part for you of just being able to be surrounded by the team, the family that you love in a different way, of just being in this space of, hey, we're here. Let's enjoy this. What are some takeaways perhaps that you did that was maybe you weren't doing before the pandemic?
Well, so I will share this. We did something fairly unusual. In the middle of the pandemic, we decided to sell our house in October of 2020, and we traveled the country. And so I think we went to 53 or 54 different places. So when I tell you we were very core as a family and spent an incredible amount of time together, I think I did the math at one point in time. I spent every minute of every day for 187 days with my two kids, because there was, you're out on the road. You go across the street to the neighbor's house during a pandemic, right? I mean, you were truly an insular, group and cohort. And so when I talk about closeness of family and getting to know your kids and their nuances, as I reminded them many times, you may be the center of my universe, but you are not the center of the universe. And so making sure that they stay grounded. But man, that was such a unique opportunity for us. I mean, they were in virtual school. Brooklyn was in virtual school. Briggs was not yet in school because he was 4. And so all he wanted to do was go outside and dig and, bang rocks together. And so we did a lot of that and catch lizards. But that was a fun experience of being in the middle of a pandemic. And, for some people, they questioned our ability to make decisions, but for our family, it was the right choice. And we followed the local regulations wherever we were. And we were, careful as we went, but it created an incredible adventure for our family. And to watch our kids grow during that time, just even their verbal skills, holy smokes, right? I mean, it's amazing because they were always around adults. My wife is very successful. She's a VP of a pharmaceutical company. And so they get to listen to a lot of our calls, whether I'm on with CEOs or she's on sales calls. And they're pretty good for 9 and 5, but that's how we spent a lot of our time, during the pandemic, which was, huddled up and learning and growing in our love with one another.
My gosh, I in that little segment that you just shared, I get goosebumps all the time, Jerry. Seriously, probably, I don't know, good 5-10 times a day. I still have no idea exactly what it means, other than I think my heart and soul gets lined up with people, and I just feel what they have going on in their DNA. And yeah, at least 5 times when you were talking, and I think that was genius. Even from a health perspective of being a nurse, you're in your enclosed space. Yeah, you're going to run in the grocery store, get your food, and come back and clean it no different than anybody else was. But the great part is now you get to just see the country and to have that time with your kids. I guarantee when your life is coming to an end, that's going to be one of the greatest memories that you have. Absolutely. And your kids will carry with them forever.
Amen.
Wow.
And part of this, when we really start to boil life down and we make decisions, that was the right decision for Rachel and I and our family. It wasn't the right decision for everyone else. But one thing that I was really struck by was so many people said, "Oh, I wish I could do that." And the thing that I said to them was, you can. There's just a price that you pay to do it. Right. And so you may have to quit your job. You may have to change a career. But if you really want to go do something, you go figure it out. And what I find is that the people who stay disillusioned in life live in this world of that they can't. And the reality of it is life is a choice you make. I make choices every single day. And if you don't realize that you have agency over your choices, then boy, you are going to be set up for a life of disappointment. And so, that was always one thing that struck me. People come say, "Oh, I wish I could do that." You can do it. You just have to make different choices than maybe you're making today, and maybe taking a little risk of selling our home. All worked out pretty good.
Hey, Jerry, do you find that a lot of people to do something like that you did, that they are just afraid to do it? And if so, and I'm sure a lot of your clients that you speak to, there's a fear of the unknown, what's going to happen. I know what I have here. How do you help people get past that? Or how did you guys get past that? And just like, hey, let's sell our house and let's go.
Right. So my wife is incredibly adventurous and very persuasive. So I'll start there, because when she walked in and said, let's sell our house and travel the country, I remember I was sitting in the kitchen and I thought, is she serious right now? This is crazy. And then I just said, you know what, this is amazing. This aligns exactly with who we are as a family and what our belief is. We love to travel. We've always traveled. And so what a unique opportunity. You know, the housing market was going crazy. So we got a great price on our house, which we were happy with. But as I just keep on playing all of those things through, it's just the whole notion of, the thing that scares me most, Mike, is that I'm going to be on my deathbed at 78, and I'm going to think about all the things that I was scared to do in my life. That scares me way more than taking chances and failing, quote unquote, failing, even if I fail. For me, failing is just an attempt in learning. The acronym for fail is first attempt in learning. Right. And so it depends on how you internalize that. People who believe that their ego and their personality and value as a person is somehow broken when decisions don't turn out exactly the way they wanted to, I think have a harder time to do that. And that's why I talk a lot about ego. Ryan Holiday is one of my favorite authors. Ego is the enemy. If you can take yourself out of the decision and say, what happens if this does work out? This is going to be amazing. That becomes a driving force. But fight or flight, that left-brained fear side drives some people to inaction. So I try and get them to begin with the end in mind. What's the thing that's really going to scare the shit out of you? Being on your deathbed thinking I didn't take the shot, or going and living your life as you want to? That to me is way more energizing.
I love it. I love it. So you have so many processes, so many frameworks. You're doing a lot of reading all the time because people are counting on you to be the best version of yourself. So one question I have is, what is currently, what's some of your routine? What is the best thing that you do for yourself that puts you in a position to then serve the people that you're serving?
So I'm a big believer in the morning routine. And so I think you have to prime the pump to go win every single day. And so for me, in fact, I just sent it out last night to my CEOs. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do everything, right? And so you should stay disciplined and focus in on what it is that your best roles and responsibilities are. And that really starts with a solid morning routine. So for me, as I think about my morning routine, it actually starts the night before, making sure that I'm getting a good night's sleep. For me, it's meditating or prayer. I do both. It's reading and writing or journaling for some people. It's morning exercise, has to be a part of that. And so I just look at all of those things. That puts me into a place of living with intention. And so I get up at 4:00 every morning to start my day. And, some people say that's crazy. Again, it's the right decision for me because I get to go through all of those things and put myself into a place of performance where I become unstoppable. I can go achieve whatever it is that I want to go do because I'm living a life of conscious intention. Some people are unwilling to pay that price. I am willing to pay that price because I am continuing to chase the best version of myself every single day. And again, the thing that scares me more than anything else, Mike, back to your question, I don't want to be 78 laying on my bed and having not taken action on things that I wanted to go do, that I was desperate to go do, but I had a fear of failure. I don't have a fear of failure. I have learning opportunities. And the path forward is just the path forward. And so, Jeff, for me, it is always starting with the morning routine. And it's one of the things that I look at with all of my CEOs and high achievers. Let's talk about your morning routine. What are you doing to prime the pump? What are you doing to make sure that you are the best version of yourself to go lead people or lead yourself? I don't know that you can hop out of bed and rush right into your day and be in a space of performance. So
I love, man, you said so many great things. Love the morning hours too, because it's just your time. And so it's just so peaceful. But yeah, you said so many great things. And I love how you keep using the word performance. Again, Mike and I coaches, and I'm using that word a lot with my team of that's what it's really about. And how can you put yourself in that position to go bring your best game today towards practice, to the game, scrimmage, whatever is going on. And that's in a weird way what we're trying to do. When you were talking, I'm wrapped up in C4 Leaders is trying to use pizza, if this pandemic will let us, to bring people together to perform. And so I'm trying to start this movement, and we just wrote our first book.
Congratulations.
The Pizza Day series. Thank you. And it's called We Rise Together. But I really just keep in my head hearing building habits to create intention to live your purpose. Yes. And I think we can do that through this pizza making process. So anybody interested in that, let's go reach out to C4 Leaders, and let's find a way to help coach each other up so we can all perform. And I wish life was perfect. And as a nurse, it's all about creating balance, maintaining homeostasis in our life. So Jerry, we're going to put you on the spot now. What happens? You tried something with one of your CEOs that you're working with, planned it out, thought it was a good idea, but just fell flat on the face, and you maybe quickly are starting to question, you kind of get knocked down. Is there something that you do to quickly get you back to be, okay, hey, I've earned the right to trust myself. And so therefore I can, play with no fear, which is what you're talking about. But I guarantee that voice comes in at some point, but you really don't listen to it. What advice would you give to a listener who maybe that voice is a lot stronger and feels like someone is actually standing on their shoulder, yelling at them and making them play real small? How do you encourage your clients to maintain this balance, to not listen to that voice?
So I'm going to roll back just a little bit, because I believe balance is a myth. I think that's something that has been sold to us. There is no person that I know that is ever in balance. We are always out of balance and overinvested somewhere, especially with higher performers. What is important is that we do things like work-life integration, that we live with conscious intention, and that we communicate to those people around us that, hey, here's the path that I'm on, and I want you to come along with me. And so, when you look at balance and stasis, ultimately that leads to death, because it's stasis ultimately leads to death. And so I get people back to a place of conscious intention. So how do we make sure that people aren't listening to that voice that's on their shoulder that says, you can't, you can't, you can't? I get people really connected to their vision and their values. We make sure that there's a support community around them. So, board of directors are great for very large companies. I believe everyone should have a personal board of directors. You should have someone that's on your health board of directors, your spiritual, your business, your financial, and your personal. And so why would we not do those things? Because we don't do life alone. And so the more we can get connected to what we truly want out of life, the easier it is to have grit and resilience when shit gets hard. Right? Because you talk about, you work with CEOs, it's 2022. We've all just come through a planning process. And so we know we're going to be wrong. Let's just start there, right? I know everything that I've laid out is not going to go right. You guys know this as coaches. it's just not the way we thought it was going to go. That doesn't mean that you take your team off the court and go like, screw it, we're not going to do it, right? It's like, no, we've got to continue to adjust and reallocate resources on opportunities. And again, it depends on what game you're playing. And so, in sports, it is a finite game. The game is 8 minute, 4 quarters, and you play the whole game. In business and in life, it's an infinite game. Like, how do we continue to get the game to go forward? And so when you change the dynamic of the stakes, that almost there's so few decisions that are one-way doors. If I'm wrong, I go back through the door. And so sometimes people just think like, oh, this is like the end all be all, and then obsess over the decision. I would tell you, if it's not the right decision, if your thoughts, your feelings, or your actions aren't serving you, then change them. And it's okay to change. So getting people to understand that, generally speaking, almost everything you can walk back through the door. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. And we just choose another adventure after that decision. And so it's just that continuous decisions. There is almost no decision that becomes permanent.
I love it, and I do agree, and I love your conscious integration of your statements, and I love the reference to Angela Duckworth's grit. My team is reading that this season, and I want to go there because you help build teams, I'm guessing, with your companies that you work with, and we can apply this to business. You can apply it just to friends, people that you have in your life. But how do you build culture? So much of having a strong culture is the people that you have on your team. Is there any criteria that you help businesses say, hey, here's some traits, because you've been talking a lot about values. Here's perhaps some values that might be helpful in building this culture. How do you help people figure out what those values are, so they surround themselves with the people that can allow them to perform and can allow them to make these mistakes and be like, all right, great, we just learned what not to do. Let's go move on and figure out. Now we're one step closer towards identifying how to get it done. So what insight do you have around that?
So again, the foundation of every business is your vision and your values. Because if I tell you, hey, we're going to go on this amazing adventure, and I convince you to come along, and I go to the beach because I love the beach, and you wanted to go to the mountains because you love to snowboard, then we have a problem. And it really comes back to a disjoint between expectations. The genesis of all conflict in all things is a disjoint in expectations. And so we get really clear about what the vision of the company is and the values that we have. Now, I have companies that have different values. There is a broad spectrum because it's a reflection of typically the founder and then the leadership team of how they're operating the business. There are hallmarks of typical traits or values that you see within companies. But the values are your operating system that you use inside a company. And so you should be hiring both for technical abilities, but also values alignment. Does this person fit in? And so really the output of culture is how we treat each other, how people feel when they go home at night. They feel really good about that. Some people think it's about ping pong tables and serving beer at 4 o'clock on Friday. Those are just nice benefits, right? They're there. But at the end of the day, your values are your operating system, which form the foundation of your culture. And so if you really want to create a compelling company, a compelling life, 3 things have to align. You have to align with the vision, you have to align with the values, and you have to align with your role. And so I love the role that I'm in. I'm contributing in my unique ability. I love the way I go home and feel every day. I identify with these people. These people are my people. And I love the mission that we're on. We are on a mission to go change and make a big impact. That's how you create an environment where people just go like, shit, this is a special place. And I love what we're doing here. And so to me, that's the culmination of how you create a great culture. And you should be hiring for it. I mean, when I look at businesses, specifically businesses that are fast growing, and you guys would look at it from your team, so you have an opportunity to pick up the hot shot shooter who's a terrible teammate. He's not coachable. He's an asshole to his teammates. You make a decision of like, oh, I can have 30 points a game from the hot shot shooter, but I crush my culture and it's not fun for me to coach them. Or I can take a pass on that player and get someone who does fit in and buys into the way in which we play, the way in which we treat each other, and their role on the team. You're going to go way, way further. It's the same thing in business as it is in sports. You guys coach basketball. I coached soccer for a long time. And so same thing. I used to say, I coached 11s to 14s. I said, soccer is just a microcosm of life, right? If I can help you be successful on a soccer field, which I connected everything back to life lessons when I did that, then you're going to be successful in life. It is the same exact process, no matter how you do it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure some of those lessons during that time of your life even stemmed, I'm going to bring this around, from our thought of the day, which is really about self-awareness. And I know some of your personal values come around, and I'm going to go to your number 12 from your site: crave perspective and treat it as the gold standard of self-awareness. Talk to the listeners about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of my favorite morning intentions is to live in wonder, not in judgment. And so I give people permission all the time. I don't think I have all the right answers. My view is one way. I'm facing the camera. I can't see these things over here. And so when you empower people to say, you know what, here's the mission that I'm on, and here's the values that I have in my life, and I'm really so committed that no matter what's going on, if I'm headed in the wrong path, you have permission to say, hey, Jerry, I'm seeing this thing over here. I don't know that you see it. So when I used to, run companies with, large staffs, I would tell people all the time, you have permission. If you see something, it is your job to tell me, hey, you may not see this thing over here, because we're always better together. And so, that perspective for me is always directly proportional to your quality of life. And so I have always gone out of my way to put myself in unique, uncomfortable situations to widen and deepen my perspective, because it's directly proportional to your quality of life.
Man, I love that. And you got me with the better together. If I wasn't attached to this headset, I'd go grab one of my shirts for my team this season. But that's our theme.
Love it. We are better together.
Yeah, for winners girls basketball, we're better together. And it's a tricky thing now, because life, if you're not aware, it's really pulling you in the direction to make it all about you, which is such the wrong direction, and having a leader such as yourself to guide your teams, your businesses, and help them gain that perspective of, hey, let's share knowledge, let's share this perspective. And I love that visual. You're looking forward, can't see everything else, everybody's blind spots, and help me realize what those are, and then create that space. And I guess that'll be my next question, because I think giving and receiving feedback can be very difficult. Have you created processes for your clients that allow that to be, a safe space, a space of growth and development, and share perhaps for the listeners out there who might be in a position where they're a manager and have to go out and give some feedback? What insight would you give them to do that better?
Right. So, my first value as a human being is to love your people and treat them as whole people. I think love is the ultimate superpower. And so if you are coming from a place of compassion, which is I tell people all the time, you shouldn't be building a company. You should be building a community on a mission. And so when you start from that place that we are all in this together because we're better together, then it is easy to lovingly say to you, hey, Jeff, I think you're missing the mark. I don't know that you can see this right here and right now. And in where we have brought the right people in for values alignment, your openness, because all you want to do is achieve the vision, and we're on a mission together, your openness to say, hey, thanks for letting me know that. That's amazing. I didn't realize that. It changes the dynamic by which you do that. It comes, from a place where I should say, when feedback comes from a place of love and progress, it's easy to do that. It's easy to say, I care enough about you that I'm not going to let you fail. And so I think, the idea of some people do yearly reviews. I think that's an awful idea, because why would you only tell someone how they're doing once a year? Just stop and think about that for a minute. I mean, why would I not be constantly redirecting you to have conversations about your performance and where you're meeting and how you're doing and how I can remove roadblocks for you and help you solve problems differently? The other piece of this is, I'll come back to values. Values are just so critical to how people operate. When values are clear, decisions are easy. So when I'm holding someone accountable, which is more the issue, when I'm giving you feedback and it's positive feedback, that's easy to give, right? And so feedback where someone is not in alignment of expectations, that's when it becomes hard. But when values are clear, decisions are easy. And so I'm not attacking you. I'm talking about the behavior and how it's a transgression on our values that we all share, that we all know, and the mission that we're on. And so when you do it that way and you approach it that way, it changes the dynamic. So I always tell people, when you're giving feedback that's hard, attach it to your vision that you're on, the mission you're on, your values as a company, or the objectives, which are the short-term goals that we have as a company. You do those things and you attach the behavior to one of those three things. It's not personal, because we're all on this mission together. And I'm telling you from my seat, what I can see, we're missing on one of these three things. And it's my job. It's my job as your teammate to tell you that. Imagine this. If you saw one of your players having wrong form on a free throw, and you sat there on the bench and didn't say anything, are you serving them? Are you helping the team? No, it's a horrible idea that people think, oh, well, I don't want to have that conversation because I might embarrass them. It's like, no, get so committed to your vision and your values and the mission that you're on that you can be gritty, you can be resilient, you can give feedback in the moment, because God, the win of the direction that we're going, the trajectory is way more important than the small discomfort in the minute. And so that's how I think about that.
Man, I love it. I wish I had more time to get into some of the key things that you said, but I really, community on a mission really was speaking to me. And listeners, we've been so fortunate to have Jerry Macnamara. Again, you can find him at provenchaos.com, sharing his mission to build people, businesses, culture with love and perspective, accountability. And we've talked about this throughout this episode, but we're going to fast forward. We always end this, our show with our legacy question. And you've kind of been answering this, but I'm going to let you answer it again. And John Alston has an incredible quote. The only thing you take with you when you're gone is what you leave behind. And so now we'll fast forward. We're going to get you to 98, Jerry, because your morning routine is going to get you 20 extra years, man.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. I love it.
Congrats on that. And so you were on your deathbed. You're fully aware, and you've lived this incredible life. You're surrounded by Brooklyn and Briggs and Rachel and some other key people that have been in your life. What is it you want them to feel from the interactions that they've had with you that is just going to carry and be in their DNA as you take your last breath?
That no one loved them harder than me.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to just end it right there. I mean, I got goosebumps again from that, because that's just, there's so much that goes into that. And we're not even going to get into that, but, this was a good one. I got a whole page and a half of notes, and I'm going to really enjoy listening back to this episode. Pachito, any closing remarks?
Jerry, you got me fired up. I got to go coach right now. We lost a tough one by 1 point last night.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's all right. I'm excited to get to practice today. Thank you for inspiring me, and I can't wait to go inspire those kids. I appreciate it. Thanks again, Jerry.
You're doing super important work. I think I look at my career and how many coaches inspired me along the way. It's an indelible mark that you're leaving.
Thank you. We're trying.
All right, Jerry. Any question? Any last thing? You're like, oh man, I wish Jeff or Mike would have asked me this. I would really like to share this. Or are you happy with? We're good to go.
I think we're good to go. I really appreciate the conversation. You guys are terrific. I love what you're doing, and so I want to hear more about the pizza challenge. So I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for that.
Well, I'm gonna send you out a book. Last thing I'll say, I'm going to send you a book that I would love you to read and maybe share. It's a cool story. And then I'm going to send your wife Winters Girls Basketball. We just did a free clinic on December 22nd, I think it was. And we had our theme of the clinic was love. And so it's a very cool shirt, and your wife will enjoy it. So I'll get your address and send you those two things. But we thank you so much for being our guest on Life's Essential Ingredients. Listeners, we can't thank you enough. 27 countries all over the place. Mike and I are just honored to get to spend 45, 50 minutes with you. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, reach out to me, Jeff at c4leaders.org. Again, our amazing guest today, Jerry Macnamara. You can find him at provenchaos.com. With that, Pachito, we out, baby. Boom. It just happened. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.